All right. Today, we're diving into a really powerful myth from the Gikuyu people of Kenya. It's a gut-wrenching story, really. It's about a community pushed to the absolute brink and the terrible, terrible price they decide to pay. A price that, as we'll see, creates a debt that can't ever really be paid back. This is the story of Wanjiru of the sacrifice.
Now that's not just a weather report, right? That line gets right to the emotional heart of the story. I mean, can you imagine a desperation so deep, so long, that you've literally forgotten what normal feels like? That's where we're starting, with an entire community right on the edge of collapse. So how does a whole community get to a point like that? Well, let's break it down. We'll look at the problem they were facing, this devastating drought, and the absolutely terrifying solution they came up with.
You know, the myth uses this incredible phrase, the accumulated dryness. This is so important. The crisis didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't some sudden catastrophe. It was this slow, creeping thing, just one dry day after another, piling up until the weight of all those seemingly ordinary days just crushes them. It becomes this extraordinary emergency that they just can't handle anymore. So, okay, they've tried everything they can think of. All the normal solutions are exhausted. So the elders, they turn to the extraordinary. They go to a diviner for answers. And listen to the question they ask. It's not, hey, where can we find some water? No, it's something much, much scarier. They ask, what does the rain require? What price is the earth itself demanding for us to live?
And the answer they get back is just unbelievable. The price isn't a goat or a bull or some other offering you might expect. No, the rain required Wanjiru, the most beautiful girl in the village. Think about what that means. She's not just a person, she represents the entire community's future. All their hopes, their potential, it's all wrapped up in her. The cost of their survival is their own future.
And here's maybe one of the most chilling details in the whole myth. The community offers gifts to her family as, compensation. And this is the crucial part. The family accepted them. This moment, it's a massive turning point. It's not just something being done to them anymore. By accepting the gifts, they formalize this horrible transaction. It makes everyone, the family and the community, active, willing participants in what's about to happen.
Okay, so now we come to the story's climax, the sacrifice itself. And the way this unfolds is so specific and so deeply unsettling.
The story is incredibly specific here. This isn't some violent act. Nobody throws her in a pit. She doesn't jump. She just begins to sink. It's like the dry earth itself is just pulling her down, absorbing her, almost like a thirsty sponge. It's this slow, surreal process. And first, her feet just disappear into the ground.
And the whole thing happens in this agonizingly slow motion. The entire community is just standing there, watching her get swallowed by the earth. The tension must have been unbearable. Then her knees go under, and you realize there's still time. Someone could do something. But nobody moves, not a single person.
Then she sinks to her waist. And at this point, there's no going back. And she looks out at the people around her family, her friends, the elders, the very people who are doing this to her. It's this moment of just chilling connection, but also the most profound isolation you can imagine.
And that's when she speaks. And the words she says basically define the entire moral landscape of this story. She doesn't scream, "You're killing me," or "You're sacrificing me." She says something far more powerful. She says, "My people have abandoned me." She names the real crime here, the betrayal, the absolute horror of being left completely alone by the people who are supposed to be yours.
And just like that, the moment she disappears completely beneath the surface, the rain comes. It works. The drought is over. The community is saved. It seems like the grim transaction is complete, right? A price was paid. The goods were delivered. But, and this is a big but, the story is nowhere near over.
Yeah, because what happens next is what elevates this story from just a sad tragedy to a really profound philosophical lesson. This is Act 2, the return and the day.
So there's this one person, a young warrior who had loved Wanjiru, and he just refuses to accept what happened. And his grief isn't just sadness, it's something more. It's the crushing guilt of being a witness who did nothing. And that guilt, it drives him to do something, to take the first real act of accountability in this whole story. He doesn't just sit around and mourn, he decides to try and undo what was done.
He grabs a shovel and he starts to dig. And this brings up a really fascinating idea from the myth. The earth doesn't consume what it receives, it holds it. So Wanjiru wasn't destroyed, she was preserved. And if something is preserved, well, that means it can potentially be brought back.
And believe it or not, he does it. He brings her back, alive. But she's not the same person who went into the ground. She's been transformed by what she went through down there. And the warrior, he gets this. He understands that her recovery isn't going to be instant. It's a slow, careful process.
So, you might be thinking, okay, happy ending, right? The community got its rain, they survived, the warrior got Wanjiru back, everybody wins? Well, the myth gives a very clear and definitive answer to that. Absolutely not, because the sacrifice created something that her return just can't erase. Let's look at the balance sheet here. On one side, the community got rain, they got survival, they got a future. But on the other side, they created abandonment, they created a moral debt, a haunting. The rain and the debt showed up at the exact same time. You can't have one without the other. And Wanjiru coming back, that doesn't cancel the debt, it just means the bill collector is home.
So, let's really dig into the anatomy of this sacrifice. What are the core ideas that make this story so powerful? We're going to shift gears a bit from just talking about what happened to exploring what it all means.
All right, let's break this down. First, you've got the sinking. The fact that she just sinks into the earth shows this isn't about one person's violent act. It's a systemic thing. The whole world is complicit. Then there's her statement, "My people have abandoned me." It just cuts through all the excuses about it being necessary and names the actual moral crime, abandonment. Then you have the family's acceptance of the gifts. That didn't pay off the debt, not at all. It just put it in writing, formalized it. And finally, the haunting. This isn't ghosts and ghouls. The haunting is the memory, the permanent, inescapable knowledge in the community of what they did.
Which brings us to the final and maybe most important lesson of this entire myth, the philosophy of reckoning. How in the world do you deal with a debt like this? How does a community or a person actually reckon with their own past?
Well, first we have to understand what a moral debt is. It's an obligation you can't just pay off with money or gifts. That's not how it works. The myth is really clear on this point. This kind of debt can only be settled through a really specific, really difficult process of social and ethical repair. It requires action, not just a payout.
And what's amazing is the myth actually gives us a roadmap, a 3-step process for this. Step 1 is acknowledgement. That means honestly hearing what she said and validating it, saying, yes, you were right, we abandoned you. Step 2 is recognition. This means you have to fully see and accept the person who's come back, not as the girl who was sacrificed, but as the woman who survived, transformed by the ordeal. And finally, step 3 is honor. This is about acknowledging the true cost of what happened and understanding that the relationship between her and the community is forever changed.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question, doesn't it? The myth doesn't wrap this up with a neat little bow. The rain came, sure, but the debt is still there. So it forces us, all of us, to ask, what happens when a community's survival, its very existence, is built on a price that it has yet to truly pay? That's a question that echoes way beyond this one myth, and it's something powerful to think about.